Welcome back. Today we are talking with Bonney about mental toughness, and great first and second segment there. I'd like to continue on talking about the fears. What can we do to reduce our fears? Because we can have fears about everything. Sure, you hear about spiders and snakes and all those kind of things, but there's also a fear of ourselves
Mhm.
and moving forward,
Yeah.
and addressing things like I think there was something that you and I said at the live broadcast is one of the hardest things to do is to look at yourself in the mirror. So how do you address fear?
Yeah. Yeah. First, recognizing that fear is there to keep you alive. And it's not necessarily honest, right? I mean, the fear doesn't necessarily mean this is a life-threatening situation. I always say it should be a speed bump, not a stop sign. Yeah, the fear should make us say, okay, wait a minute, what's happening here? And again, like we talked about at the beginning of the episode, that pause to say, okay, why am I scared right now? Because once we put that into words, once we kind of crystallize it of why am I having this emotion, I can say, okay, cool. I really want this interview to go well. I'm nervous. I don't want to fail. I don't want to say anything stupid. Um, but I've done interviews before. Now we start with why this is a good idea and why this is going to be okay. And again, we talked about the sassy back talk, saying, okay, here's all the things I've done before and here are the resources I have to be able to figure this out. If we are just acting on that fear and we're squishing it down and not paying attention to it, we're missing out on the data that it's giving us on how we can move more effectively through the situation. And so by acknowledging the fear, it lessens it a little bit because we're not ignoring it and it's just festering in there going, yeah, but you're still scared. And you're like, oh, and it just doesn't work. And that understanding your own strengths and resources is the other piece of it. Understanding that it's not a stop sign and also understanding your own strengths and resources can really help you say, okay, I'm scared. And because it's not going to go away, right? It's just not going to control the direction of what we're doing and how we're reacting to a situation, right? So don't expect the fear to go away because it'll still be there.
You talked about social connections at the end of the previous segment. Can that also be something to help address your fears?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Even just sharing your challenge with somebody, even if they don't have the resource, like they haven't been through it before. But if there's somebody who's been through it before, you can chat with them. What's some of your advice? Or just somebody to say, wow, that's tough. I'm here if you need to keep talking about this. And sometimes this is the point to go for professional help too, to say, you know what, my friends aren't equipped to give me what I need right now. I'm going to hire a counselor or a psychologist to help me through this. But the beauty of stopping to acknowledge that fear is now, okay, cool, I can deal with that and move forward with the situation.
I like what you said there, talking about it, because sometimes talking can be the first step.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
I often talk to myself. I give myself all the answers I want, which sometimes is not so good. But even just verbalizing what's going on and kind of having some of those conversations out loud with nobody present can really help to crystallize things in your mind.
I am so glad you said that because I do that too. And sometimes I think, man, Alex, you must be nuts. But I sit here, especially when I'm trying to figure out either a response or a new idea, a framework, something. And I'll sit here leaning back in my chair and I'll say it out loud. Well, what if I do it this way? And I can move this and suddenly it actually does help. It's kind of therapeutic in a
Yep,
way. And
exactly.
and I remember my mom, it's okay to talk to yourself as long as you don't start answering yourself.
Exactly. Or if there are multiple answers, then again see a professional.
So there was something you mentioned, and I can't remember if it was in segment one or segment two, but there are people that are they feel mentally tough and they keep marching towards things regardless. But what they're really doing and what's happening to them is they're burning themselves out. So how do you deal with that? because the burnout piece I thought was kind of a rather important component of mental toughness.
Yeah.
People do, and it is a big problem right now, burnout.
And it's a huge problem right now. And part of being mentally tough is recognizing when you need a break and when you need that outlet. I recently was talking to Dr. Terry Wu. He's a speaker and a neurobiologist, really smart guy. And we were talking about stressors and things that break us down and can lead to burnout, anxiety, depression, all the things that come with all of that. And the three factors that in a situation will be significant stressors is if we don't have any predictability, if we don't have any control, and if we're not seeing any progress. And then two other factors that can contribute to stress is whether we have an outlet, which is what I was just talking about earlier, and our social connections, right? And so that's a nice little pie of stressors. And as we think about burnout, we think about squashing down and ignoring these things. If we do take that pause, if you haven't paused to say, hey, how am I feeling? If there are significant physical things happening in your body, that could be an issue because burnout, depression, anxiety, overstress starts to manifest physically. But if we start, and when we're in that pause of saying, how do I feel about this? If you can't kind of come up with anything, go through those 5 things. Okay. Do I have social connections? Am I connecting with people at the dog park or at work? Do I have an outlet? Have I been exercising? Have I been reading, doing puzzles, going to the boxing gym, whatever the heck an outlet is for you? Do I have some predictability? Am I seeing some progress in the situation? And do I have any control? You can kind of break it down into those pieces to start saying, holy cow, I don't have any of that. No wonder my stomach hurts every night and I can't sleep. I need to start thinking about finding an outlet, finding some social connections, or can I gain predictability, control, or progress in this situation in any way?
You mentioned puzzles. I actually do them.
Yeah.
When I get overwhelmed with, different clients want everything all at once, of course, which is, par for the course, right? You're busy, and every so often it's like, no, I have to step back. I need to clear my head. And I go downstairs. On the dining room table is right now, 1,000-piece puzzle. And I'll just sit there for 10, 15 minutes because doing it just completely clears my head.
Yes.
And then it's like, and sometimes just doing it, you think of, now I know what it is, and come back upstairs and I can, get to what I was working on, and off I go and I'm fine. And I don't feel that stress anymore.
And that's the definition of real self-care. It's doing that thing that gets you out of the stressful situation and actually refills that emotional energy that we were talking about, right? Mm-hmm. That's what self-care is. It's that thing that refills your tank. And so whether that's, again, puzzles, the boxing gym, death metal concerts, volunteering at the SPCA, whatever it is, find that thing for yourself and make sure you're taking the time to do that, because that outlet's going to reduce that stress and give you that emotional intelligence to be able to react in an intelligent way.
Yeah, or singing away to music in the car, of which my dog would say it's howling to music in the car, but I don't care. It makes me feel good.
Yeah. Whatever it does. Yeah.
Let's get some tips for people that may be struggling out there or aren't sure if they have mental toughness or not. Mm-hmm. What kind of things can people start doing? Like some tips for them, small steps to get them moving in the right direction.
Yeah, and I think it's the first step I would recommend is thinking about what physiological responses might indicate that you're having an emotional reaction. I know my shoulders get super high, my brow furrows, and I can like tell that I'm stressed, and I go, oh wow, okay, let's first put our shoulders down. Okay, what's going on? And just take a pause to reset in the moment and think, okay, how am I feeling right now? Why am I stressed out? Do I need to take a walk around the block, just 5 minutes to kind of reset and come back to the situation? So that's the first thing that starts to build your self-awareness. Start thinking about your reactions to change. And how do you react to them? Does it become a complain and gripe fest? Or do you start thinking forward and thinking about solutions and thinking about the other people that you can bring in? And that's the third tip I would have is, what are your networks? Who are your social networks, your support networks, your professional networks, that you can ask different types of questions to when you're in different situations? Because that social not only gives you the information you need, but gives you that connection to other humans that will make you feel like, okay, cool, I'm not alone. That's going to boost your mental toughness as well. And then lastly, I would say, and it's the little stupid things, right? Move your body, drink enough water, eat some green foods. Doesn't mean you have to eat kale 3 times a day, but sometimes we swap out a salad for some fries, little things like that are going to give you that emotional energy that I was talking about, that will allow you to take advantage of the mental toughness, create that inner dialogue that reminds you of all the things you have figured out and what you've got behind you.
I just thought of something. Is there any difference between introvert and extrovert? And the reason I ask is because you and I actually mentioned it during the break.
Yeah,
So
sure.
is there a difference between introvert and
I
extrovert?
think the only difference would be what recharges your battery, and recognizing that about yourself. And this is another place where social influence comes in, because your next door neighbor might be like, oh my gosh, I joined this knitting circle and it was the most amazing thing and I feel better and you need to do it. And if you're an introvert, you're going to be like, that sounds terrible. Like, I don't want to do that. And so really understanding yourself and understanding what is going to recharge your battery. For me as an extrovert, once I was like, ooh, I should go to just rent a cabin in the woods and escape and be all by myself. And I was like, why would I want to do that? That wouldn't recharge. I'd be lonely. And I'd be like, who am I going to talk to? So understanding yourself and what your outlets are and how you're going to recharge is going to be the difference there.
Yeah, I'm an introvert. That cabin in the woods would be lovely. But
See,
but
there you
every
go.
so often I would drive into town and have dinner or lunch or something and talk with everybody that's there. And then it's like, okay, had enough. Time to
Enough
go
peopling.
recharge.
Yep. Yep. Because even introverts have that need for belonging and that need for social connection and that need to know there's somebody I can rely on. That's a key piece of it.
We've only got 3 minutes left. Is there anything that maybe we haven't covered you would like to share, or final thoughts that you would like to share with us?
It's recognizing that, people say be fearless, and get comfortable being uncomfortable. You're not going to be comfortable. And I like to point that out to people, that our brains weren't built to allow us to be fearless and fully comfortable in these uncomfortable situations. And so recognizing that action shrivels anxiety is a big piece. That's why I talk about punch it, Margaret. I talk about take a move, even if it's reaching out for somebody for help or reading something on the internet or, researching something in a book. That little bit of action is going to start giving you momentum. That's going to start making you feel like, okay, there's something I can do here to make this situation better, adding to the control, reducing the stress.
Kind of like saying that being uncomfortable is okay once you've realized you're uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Yeah, say, okay, cool, I'm uncomfortable. Why is that? All right, do I got this? Yes. All right, cool, let's go forward, even though I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's like a first step. You've
Yeah.
you've realized you're uncomfortable. Good, you're already on your way.
Yeah. And there's some good data in there. So that little
Yeah.
speed bump gives you, okay, cool, what's going on? What do I want to know about this as I continue to move forward and dance in this discomfort?
Yeah. And I just want to stress, this is for everybody too. This isn't, your vice presidents and CEOs all go through this as well and have those same feelings that the general employee base is going to feel. It's not hierarchical specific. It's people in general, right?
Yeah, everybody needs this.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think sometimes leaders tend to think, well, that's not me because I'm where I am because I am mentally tough. Well, I'm sure, like me, you've met people that are high up there in an organization. And you're like, how the hell did you ever get here?
Yeah. Yeah. Emotional intelligence is not always a ticket, is not always the price of entry. Sometimes you're like, how'd you get there? Yeah.
Well, and we've come to the end of the show. Thank you so much for sharing your time and expertise and your thoughts and ideas with us today. Your energy was infectious. I think if people listening can't see it, but on the video, I've never used my hands so many times as I have today, getting excited as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Alex. This has been really fun.
Great. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I know I did. And everyone watching and listening, stay prepared, everybody. If you liked that video, thumbs up. If you didn't like that video, thumbs down. But leave me a message and let me know your thoughts. Of course, don't forget to subscribe. And in the meantime, stay prepared, everybody.